All right, Jet fans, fellow Frankie fam. What are we going to talk about today, Frankie? There's not a lot of news going on, right? So it's about time we talked about the AGD, or as you might call it, the GlennFense. What are you talking about, Frankie? Well, of course, there's been an infusion of talent onto our defensive side of the ball this offseason. And of course, we also fired a lot of coaches and hired a bunch more. And Aaron Glenn has taken over the play calling, even though Brian Dukes of Hazard Duker is nominally the DC. Glenn is going to be the play caller. Okay. So then the natural question would be, what could we possibly expect from this GlennFense? Because after all, we don't know. We've forgotten. We have totally forgotten what the hell he did when he was with the Detroit Lions and what that looked like and all the praise he was getting and everybody saying he's such a good defensive mind. Well, he came to us and we had a bad season and everybody thinks he's a dummy now. Well, I don't. And so and I'm going to try to prove to you right now that we have a lot to look forward to. So this is going to be a very basic overview. This is not going to be a Joe Blewett level, looking at everybody's pinkies and toenails and, looking at how their helmet is tilted. We're not doing that. We're going to look at some very basic things that we can expect. And we're going to use as the basis for our analysis an article and a video, although mostly the article, published by Cody Alexander, otherwise known as Coach A, on his MatchQuarters Substack, and I would recommend that you subscribe to it. And let's take a look here. Now, as you can see, this is Coach A down here. That's too big. And he uses this video. We're not going to go into that, but what we are going to do is look at these defensive players. You can see here there's 4 down linemen. This is Hutchinson out here. And we're going to use this article as the basis of our analysis. Now, one of the things that we're going to look for, so I didn't want to close that. I just wanted to throw this out. Yeah. One of the things that we're going to look at is schematic fluidity. Now, some of you may remember that we thought we were getting this schematic fluidity last year when Glenn was hired. And unfortunately, it seems like what has happened is that Steve Wilkes came in last year and convinced Glenn to do things differently. And that's strange, but that was one of the many mistakes, you could rightfully say, that Aaron Glenn made. And it's to be expected. A first-time head coach, he made a lot of mistakes. I expected it. Some of you didn't. But what I also expected was this schematic fluidity. Now, that's what I wanted. What does that mean? That means that you're going to see different things, hybrid things, multiples. Okay, we're going to talk about cross dog blitzes. We're going to talk about vision drops and the art of schematic fluidity. And I think it's important because in today's NFL, you cannot go with simple. There's too much video and there's too much study, and people are studying everything you do from the minute you do it. And if you think you can get away with simple stuff like, Saleh and Ulbrich and Rudy, Coach Rudy, always used to say, we're going to keep it simple. They know we're keeping it simple. And we know they know we're keeping it simple, but we're going to beat them anyway because our people are just better than their people. Okay. Well, if your people are better than their people, okay, that makes sense. Otherwise, you're going to need schematic fluidity because you need to confuse the other team. You need to confuse the quarterback, and that's how you get turnovers, for example. So one of the things that we're going to talk about, so that's schematic fluidity. Again, we're not going to talk about all of these things. But one of the things that having the schematic fluidity in place allows you to do cross dog blitzes from different fronts to create multiple problems for the offense. What does that mean, Frankie? Well, a cross dog blitz. Now, when we're talking about linebackers, they're often referred to as dogs. Green dog, cross dog. And what we're going to do with our linebackers, this is Anzalone, and this is Anzalone, this is Barnes, this is, I forget his name, the one they drafted in I think the first round or second round. But anyway, they love their linebackers, and what they do is one time they'll have him in one gap, him in this gap. Another time they'll do a cross dog where this guy goes over here and this guy goes over here. So you see it's like a cross. It's not exact, but you see what I'm saying. So the idea being you do not know where these guys are going to come from and where they're going to go. Very hard to predict where the pressure is coming from, and what you hope is to confuse these gentlemen, known as the offensive line, protecting Mr. Dak Prescott over here, and get in there. And so we didn't see that last year. Now, the other thing you may notice, I like this. This looks like a 3-4 front. This is a Liam McNeil here. This is Aiden Hutchinson here. And if you keep this dude way out here, you can run your 3-4 kind of alignments in here, especially if he lines up right on the center, zero tech. But also have this additional guy way out here as a wide niner. And so that's something else that we could be looking at with this schematic fluidity. So we could have our 3 big mollywhoppers in here, Sweat, Briggs, Phillips, and they're essentially playing 3-4. But then we got this other guy way out here. This could be Will McDonald. This could be Arvell Reese. This could be Joseph Asai, Kingsley Enagbare. And when you do this, it's also kind of confusing to these people because they're used to getting a 3-4 alignment without this dude, where the linebacker may creep up and they're used to normal things like that. And maybe this guy's going to mug the A gap or something. But they're not used to really a 3-4 alignment with an additional down lineman. So that's something else we can do. Again, the whole idea is confuse the hell out of the offense, which I believe you got to do these days. So then the other thing that we're going to do also, I believe, and this will be something to watch. Let's see if we're doing these things. Right? We said last year maybe Wilkes is going to do something cool. Well, Wilkes didn't do shit. That was cool. Yeah, he did stuff, but everybody hated it, including the players, which was not good. But also, we're going to have some vision coverage rules. What does that mean? Sit, sling. We're going to have defenders reading the QB's eyes to protect the seams. What the hell does this mean? Well, what I think we're going to do this year is we're going to have a lot of match quarters, just like the name of this blog. But basically quarters, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what could happen here is that this guy's on man, this guy's on man, but then these two are in a zone-ish principle thing where they're kind of waiting for the receivers to declare their routes. So in this one, somebody's going to have to pick up CeeDee Lamb in the slot here, right? Probably him. But this guy, maybe he doubles Pickens, or he goes and gets the tight end, or Anzalone picks up the tight end. But the idea being that your vision dropping, so your linebackers in particular, will drop a little bit, but always keeping their eyes on Dak. They're looking at him. That's why we call it vision dropping. And they try to read where he's going to go based on his eyes. Now, it's a little risky in that, the great quarterbacks can really fool you with their eyes. But then you have to know when they're doing that. So it takes smart players like Minka and DeMario to figure out, okay, where are they actually going to go? But the idea with vision dropping is you're using the cues that you get from the formations, from the routes, and from your film study. And then you're watching him and knowing based on your film study, when they do this formation, they like to go to Pickens, you could say, for example. So you would know they have a tendency to try and isolate GP, George Pickens, on a corner and let him win one-on-one. And knowing that, you would watch, if you're the safety, Prescott's eyes, and you kind of start leaning this way, and then if he confirms that's what he's doing, then you start busting your ass out here to help him on GP, who's a great receiver, right? So that's the basic idea with vision dropping. You're dropping to a certain area, but then you're trying to read things out based on their tendencies, film study, and what they're doing currently with as you're watching the play develop, and then make your move according to that. Again, takes a lot of highly intelligent players to do that. And then one last thing. Red zone adjustments, how cheat safety techniques and vision drops adapt when the field is compressed. So this, you want to turn touchdowns into field goals. So they're already in the red zone, so they're getting a field goal. Let's keep them to 3 points instead of a touchdown. And you can use your safety. They call it a cheat safety here. But it's just using one of your safeties who doesn't have to worry about, let's say it's this guy, doesn't have to worry about the deep area so much. And so maybe he becomes a robber. So this guy's on here, and Dak doesn't think this guy's going to come down. Now Ferguson, let's say that was his target on this route, now is all of a sudden double teamed, and you got a better chance of getting an incompletion or maybe even a turnover. There are these things that you may have heard of. They're called interceptions. We didn't get too many of those last year. You may have heard of these. In fact, we got a big fat 0. So let's try and get some more of those this year. And I think this is the basics of the defense that we're going to be running this year. Now, we'll have to watch it and see. But if we don't do this, then I really don't know what we hired Aaron Glenn to do if we're not going to do this. This is what the Lions, how they got so good eventually once they got enough players who could handle the mental load of what was being asked of them. With DeMario here, with Minka here, these are two highly, highly intelligent players at the very least. And so they are going to be the ones asked to bear the mental load. We didn't last year replace the intelligence of C.J. Mosley. That was greatly, greatly missed, in addition to his physical attributes as well. But the mental side of it, we thought that Sherwood could elevate into that, and that was proved incorrect. Sherwood couldn't handle it. So now we have DeMario, and that's going to be part of the value. That's part of why we gave him so much money, because we're going to ask him to do that. And Minka as well. We paid high prices for those people, and it's going to be well justified if they can help us help the defense be a smarter defense. And a smart defense gets turnovers. Let me know what you think about all this. Please give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Tell your friends about the Frankie channel. That's how we're going to grow, as if people spread. So share the video on your social media. Tell people, hey, this Frankie guy puts out some pretty good videos sometimes. You may want to subscribe. And with that being said, I'll see you next time.